This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, all my feline friends. This is Michelle Fern, host of Cattitude. Now, many of you out there are pet parents to a cat, but some of you are not. And I know from all of the emails I get that a lot of you are wondering, is it the right choice? Will the cat fit into my home or lifestyle? Stay tuned. I have the answers for you. We'll be right back.
I love cleaning the litter box, said no one ever. Luckily, there's World's Best Cat Litter, the litter that promises less mess with less litter. Only World's Best Cat Litter uses the concentrated power of corn to quickly trap odors in tight clumps. And quick clumping means you never have to chisel or scrape the box. Less cleanup with less wasted litter? That's a litter bit amazing. Save $2 on World's Best Cat Litter. Visit www.saveonworldsbest.com.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand only from Pet Life Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to introduce Steve. He is the Vice President of Marketing at World's Best Cat Litter. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm so excited to have you. Now, we're going to be talking about some recommendations for deciding if adopting a cat is right for you. And then we'll talk about how World's Best Cat Litter helps new cat owners get off on the right foot, or should I say paw. We're all about perfect decisions here and all about our fur kids. So why not get off on the right paw? You know, at any given moment, there's approximately 3 million cats in shelters in the U.S., and I'm sure many all over the world. And the great thing about that is that the number of people choosing to adopt rather than buy a cat is on the rise. Now, if you finally decided to adopt a cat, congratulations. You've made a perfect choice that will add a lot of love and laughter to your home, and you've also saved a life. Steve, what are some ways that World's Best Cat Litter can make it easy on the new cat owner?
Yeah, great question. You know, World's Best Cat Litter is a pet, people, and a family-friendly product that makes cleanup a whole lot easier because it's natural. It's made from absorbent whole kernel corn. And the patented process we've used for so many years, it takes that corn, that absorbent corn, and concentrates it into granules that trap odor deep inside. It forms really tight clumps, so cleaning the litter box is a lot less of a chore, and we know how much people want less work when it comes to this part of owning a cat. And World's Best Cat Litter comes in 5 different formulas, and so it's really easy to find the perfect one that fits your family and your cat's needs.
And we can find out more at worldsbestcatlitter.com for more information. And I know also at worldsbestcatlitter.com, you have a great blog, a great deal of information for not only new cat owners, but all cat owners.
We do. That's a really important part of what we do, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Now, let's talk about some tips for introducing a cat to your home. And I just want to add, by the way, Steve, do you have a cat?
We don't yet have a cat. I have 5 kids, and so our house is always crazy. And one of the themes that I've been hearing a lot is, Dad, when are we getting a cat? So this topic today is awesome for us.
Well, on my crew, Dennis, Molly, and Charlotte, one was adopted, and that's Molly, and she was actually a stray. The other 2 found me. So sometimes, you know, you're saving a cat in a shelter. Sometimes you're saving a cat from the life on the street. Now, here's some tips that you're going to tell us about how to introduce a cat to your home and if your home's ready for a cat.
Great.
How would you introduce a cat to your household members? And, you know, this, especially with children, and this is great for you because you have children, so you can give us some great tips on this.
Yeah, I think one of those first questions, Michelle, is, do you have small children or are your children older? Especially with small children, it's really important to help them know what to expect and to prepare them in advance to what it will be like to have a new cat in the home, whether it's a cat or a kitten. For example, how do you feed them properly? Sometimes we bring a new cat into the home and the kids are super, super excited and they don't realize that a new cat needs some space. Just like when we go to new places, sometimes we step back and try to assess the landscape, if you will. Cats are very much the same way, and they need to transition and learn to understand the space that they're in. And they also don't want to be poked and pulled and tossed. And so, creating some of those expectations up front with young and small children is really important and will help them develop proper attitudes and behaviors with the new cat. And then also, that whole fun aspect of cleaning your cat's litter box. With young children, they're not ready yet to be able to take on that part of the responsibility. And as parents, we talk a lot about if we're going to get a new cat, we all have jobs to do. But cleaning that litter box is really a good one for older kids or adults because animal feces sometimes have intestinal parasites like roundworms, hookworms, or whipworms and things like that. And so teaching the proper process and cleaning habits is an important aspect of that. So, as a general rule, kids under 5 or 6, shouldn't be alone with a brand new kitten as we establish, a good track record and help them learn how to be gentle with that. So those are some of the ideas of when we're starting to bring that animal into our home, and especially with young children, giving them, great tools to be successful with.
And I know also, Steve, it's important if you have other pets to get them used to the cat's scent, preferably before they meet face to face. Now, with my dogs at the crew, they didn't mind. I already had Nikki and Mr. Z and Dennis and Charlotte. And Charlotte and Molly were rescues from the neighborhood, and they were actually sisters from different litters. However, Molly was a few weeks, and Charlotte was 1 and a lot larger, maybe 8 months or something. And they attacked each other. Well, Molly couldn't attack much. She was maybe 2 pounds and the other one was 12. So it's very important to rub their scents on each other. And it's much more important, it seems, with cats than with dogs to let them, because they're more territorial, I think, to let them get used to each other's scent.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And sometimes it's really helpful for a newcomer to adjust to you and their new situation and, maybe start with a small room in the home where they have all of their essentials, a litter box, their food, some water, a scratching post, some toys, and have them in that smaller space for several days, up to a week, to help them acclimate and get ready for their life in your home with you. And so that's a really good way to help them begin to adjust. And then as we have other pets in the home, begin to move them closer to each other's space. Feed your current pets and the newcomer, maybe on each side of the door of that small room, so that they begin to have a positive association with each other's smells, and then gradually begin to move them closer and closer to each other so that they understand each other's smells and they have these great positive experiences. Be careful. Don't put food so close to the door that the other animals are upset or frustrated in the other's presence when it's time to eat. So those are a couple of good ideas of how to begin to transition that. And, I was recently doing some research across the country, and we saw some great homes where there were dogs and cats and saw ways that people were transitioning their new animals. And these are some of the things that we saw that were really successful for them as well.
Yeah, these are great tips. And another thing I would like to tell all new cat owners, especially if you're introducing a new cat to your home and you already have one, just be patient. I was so concerned when I brought Molly in because Charlotte attacked her, and it took a while. And I've heard from so many different owners out there. I just spoke to some of our other show hosts and got a lot of great information, and everyone said they get used to each other. I have 4 cats. I have 6 cats. I have 3 cats. They get used to each other. And I thought, oh my gosh, how's this going to happen? And another great tip is to take a wet washcloth and rub it on from one cat and rub it on the other cat, because it picks up their scent and then they begin to smell like each other. So that also helps.
It's a great idea, yeah.
And another great tip that I've heard that I've also done is you should always have one litter box per cat plus an extra one. And
that's such a great recommendation. I agree.
Yes, because cats, like I said, are territorial. Now, you might have it that they all eventually go in the same one or two and save the last one, but it's crucial. It's important, trust me. You'd rather have your cat use the litter box than not.
Absolutely. And we hear that so often, that when there's a clean litter box, and especially as you increase the number of cats in your home, maintaining a place where each cat has the opportunity to have a clean experience, they prefer that. And I think you and I would as well, right? If we go to a public place, we want a clean private area, and boy, our cats are exactly the same way.
Yeah, that's just like people. You want a clean restroom, and if you've ever had the unfortunate experience of dining out, need to use the restroom, and you're in a new place. So we're kinning that to a cat in a new household, and you go there and it's messy or disgusting. That just makes you not want to go back. Well, your cat might feel the same way. And trust me, you'd really rather your cat go in the litter box than not. Some of us, I've only had one experience with that and never again, and I'm fortunate. And
a funny story, Michelle, like I said, we've been doing a lot of research and we've been in a lot of homes. And one of the things that we hear so often is that cats go and use the litter box immediately after it's scooped. And I think we know why, because it's clean and they so prefer that. And so I think your suggestion of having a litter box per cat plus one is such a good idea, because that's their preference. And I think we'll observe that, and we observe that so often in their behavior. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, trust me, you want to do that. You just want to do that. Cat smells are different than dog smells. So, yes, keep your litter box clean. What other homework can we do before we bring the cat into our home, Steve?
Boy, I think, just do your homework and ask around. All of us have friends who have been on this journey before. And so use your friends and use your family, and, absolutely begin a relationship with your vet. And if this is your first animal, find a vet, talk around and get some recommendations, and get that team put in place so that you can have a great experience. They'll give you fantastic tips, great recommendations, and that way you have all of those numbers on your call. You're ready to go as soon as you bring that cat in. So that's one thing that I think we can absolutely do is use our friends, use our family, and begin that preparation in advance.
Another great tip, and I've heard there are a lot of these now. They didn't, way back in the day, they didn't exist, but they do now. There's so many great monthly subscription boxes for cats as a way to, if you're busy and you don't have time to always shop for new toys or treats, ways to keep your cat active. So That's another great idea as well.
Yeah, it's fun. I've got some friends that do this all the time, and they get just as excited about what's going to come this month as the cat is. And so that's a really fun way to have a positive, playtime with your animal.
Yeah, I've had one subscription box, and actually the box was part of the toy. Cats really love boxes. So I ended up keeping the box as well as the product inside for, I think, about 3 months, because they each had a box and they like boxes. Even if they didn't fit like Mr. Dennis, he made himself comfortable in this box. It was hilarious.
That's great.
Now, of course, we want to pick the right litter, and you are the expert when it comes to picking the right litter. I know that.
Yeah, that is sometimes the least fun part of cat ownership is, I've heard it said that the best part about a cat is they poop indoors, and the worst part of a cat is that they poop indoors. But it doesn't have to be the worst experience. And picking the right litter is one of the most important things you can do for both yourself and your cat. So consider, as you're making those selections, a natural litter rather than a traditional clay litter. A lot of the clay litters are very heavy. They're also harmful to the environment. And so World's Best Cat Litter is made with the concentrated power of corn, which means you can use less and get more. So you spend more time playing with your new cat and less time cleaning the box, quite frankly. It's naturally lightweight. It clumps very quickly and is super easy to scoop. We hear all the time that one of the least desirable parts of traditional litters is the dust that just blooms up as you pour it into the pan. But World's Best Cat Litter is 99% dust-free, and some people love the fact that it's flushable. So depending on where you're putting your box, that can be a real time saver and a convenience as you're cleaning the box. So we talked earlier about scooping often. I think you mentioned that, Michelle, and that's a great, I think, add-on to this, where some people don't want to have a cat because they're worried their house is going to smell. But I tell you, if you make the right choice with litter and use the right practices, you won't have to worry about that at all.
Very true. And you said it. Make the right choice with litter, and also make sure most litter boxes are covered, but some people that are getting a new cat, they're not aware and don't get a covered litter box. So unless you have an unusually huge or tall cat, and I have a couple of big cats, but they do fit. Having a litter box that's enclosed makes a big difference too, as well as using the right litter and scooping often, which may mean as much as every other day, but with World's Best, it makes it a lot easier.
It does. It makes it a lot easier, and you'd be surprised how long the litter lasts because of how tightly it clumps. It lasts a very, very long time, and the scent technology really, really helps to make sure that you don't smell that litter or that feces at all and the urine at all. So those are really good practices and good recommendations.
And besides just scooping the litter, guess what? You have to clean the box too. But with World's Best Cat Litter, that's easier as well.
It is. Yeah, and it kind of depends on how many cats are using the box. But in general, you'll know when it's time to change out the litter when you start to notice that it's a little bit less absorbent. Most people can top it off. So as they scoop, they'll just top off a little bit here and a little bit there and maintain several inches in the box. And when you start to notice that it's less absorbent, that's a good time to think about changing it out and starting with a fresh box.
Okay, and for all of you new cats listening, what you want to do with litter, and Steve, you're the expert with cat litter, you want to create a nice bed of litter and then like a layer on top, because cats will, dig and go in it, but you can scoop and change it maybe every other day, but you need to clean it maybe as much as 2 times a week, perhaps?
Yeah, and you're talking topping it off and making sure you have a nice solid bed of litter, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So just kind of make sure. We recommend 2 to 3 inches, and we've seen a lot of people who think that 3 to 4 is a really good place to be. Sometimes you have a cat that always likes to pee on one side of the box, and so they have their habits as well. And you'll start to learn the habits of your cat and adjust accordingly. But as long as you kind of keep that depth of litter, they like to dig. Some cats dig a lot more than others, and so you'll get to know your cat and be able to adjust for them so that they have a great experience as well.
Okay, and lastly on our litter tips is, where are some good places to keep your litter box?
Boy, that is such a fun question, and boy, there are a lot of options out there, aren't there? A lot depends on your home. So we definitely recommend that you have a litter box on every floor of your home. So we talked about the 1 box per cat plus 1. And also, if you have multiple floors of your home, it's good and important to have a litter box on each floor. But beyond that, sometimes your housing situation requires some level of creativity. I was in Boston here a couple of weeks ago and met a great family with a beautiful cat, and they were so creative in where they placed their litter box because they had such a small apartment. But they had this really fantastic hutch that doubled as a microwave stand, and the litter box was below it, and you would have had no idea that they had a cat litter box in that small space. And so they used this fantastic little hutch, and it worked perfectly in their apartment. And I had another friend who had some kind of a topiary. It looked like a plant on top, and underneath was a great litter box for their cat. So we've seen some really fantastic creative ways to place the litter box in appropriate places, but design it for your home and your lifestyle.
Very good suggestions. And also, if you happen to live in an area where it's warm and your, fur baby can go outside in the patio, make sure there's a litter box there as well.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And for all of you out there who are DIY fans, there are some really fun ideas for you online, and you can look those up and find creative ways to build a habitat for your cat that fits your lifestyle as well.
Great ideas, Steve. Thank you so much. Now, World's Best Cat Litter does a lot of partnerships with cat cafes, which they're not really new, but they're becoming more and more popular. Now, what do they do, and how does World's Best Cat Litter work with them? And how does that also tie in with, your tips for someone getting a new cat?
Yeah, shelters can be a really fun way to begin to socialize with a cat that you might choose to adopt. Most of the cat cafes have partnerships with local shelters, and most of the cats, if not all of the cats in those shelters, are adoptable. And so it's a really fun way to go in, interact, and play with them before you decide to take them home. And because they're aligned with shelters, there's a great cause associated with much of the work that they do, and we're excited to partner with them. So through our World's Best Cat Cafe program, we donate litter to these cat cafes to help them continue to run, and also to partner with the shelters that they support. And we do that through promotions and giveaways that also help to attract more people into their cafes. And all of that work supports adoptions, which we're a huge fan of. And so that's how we partner with cat cafes, and it's really fun for both the cats and for potential new pet parents.
I also know that you have a great program that is your Give Litter program. How does that work?
Yeah, every year we work with shelters across the country on what we call our Give Litter program. And we are committed to donating litter to all those hardworking shelters that need it the most. And thus far, we've donated over 700,000 pounds of litter to 69 shelters across the country. We partner with them in a lot of different ways beyond just providing litter. So we also provide disposable litter boxes to new cat owners. Think about it as like a first night box as you're getting ready to go home with your new cat to make sure that you start off on the right foot. And we've also done a lot of work helping to rebuild shelters in Florida and Texas that were damaged by the hurricanes and flooding. And so those are some of the things that we do through our Give Litter program, and we love working with them and are always excited to find great shelters to work with and partner with.
These have been such great information. I love that you do so much for the shelters. 700,000 pounds of litter is a lot. I'm just thinking how many litter boxes that could fill. And it must be...
You could have a lot.
A lot. Maybe several thousand for a year. That's a lot of litter. And it's a wonderful thing that World's Best Cat Litter does for all these shelters and to support, adoptions. All my fur creatures are rescues, so I just happen to be a big proponent of that.
Yeah, and Michelle, you know that the number one reason that cats are returned to shelters is because of inappropriate elimination, is the formal way of saying they're not using the box. And so having the right litter, making the right choices, and teaching your family all of the right ways to transition a cat can really help reduce the number of cats that go into shelters. And so that's a lot of why we do what we do, and why the performance of the product matters so much.
Well, thank you again for coming on Cattitude and sharing all of this wonderful knowledge. I know people also can go to worldsbestcatlitter.com and find out even more, correct?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay, Steve, again, it's been wonderful having you on Cattitude. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a great day. Appreciate the time.
What great information, very good information for adopting a cat and or bringing a new cat into your household. I'd like to thank my crew that taught me a lot about cat adoption, cat rescues. Dennis, Molly, and Charlotte, they're all rescues, I'm proud to say. And I'd like to thank my guest, Steve, from World's Best Cat Litter. Wonderful guest, great information. Thanks to my producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guest always sound so much better than we really do. He does such a wonderful job. And huge thank you to all my feline friends out there that are listening. I know a lot of you have cats, some of you are considering adopting a cat, and you're doing your homework by listening to Cattitude. So thank you for listening. We have so many more great shows lined up. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Cattitude.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.